Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Specialist Dylan Hokut, and today I'm going to be giving you an informative speech about servant leadership. This speech is unclassified, and the risk assessment for this speech is low. So, as we all may know, there are many different types of leadership within the Army. A lot of them we have encountered in our times in the Army, and some may be more beneficial, some may have not been as beneficial, and you might actually have taken notes from a leader before, or remembered certain things that they have done to kind of influence you as far as your leadership style that you are going to use as you become a non-commissioned officer. So I would like to start this essay off with a quote that I heard from a man named Ken Blanchard. He does different speeches about servant leadership and the purpose of them and what they provide. So his quote was that leaders are the sole provider of two things, and those two things are going to be a vision and a direction. And this kind of hit me hard as far as my outlook on leadership, and how the main things that you should be displaying as a leader. So of course, vision is important. So you want to always portray a good vision, not only of yourself but of the Army in general. So not everything should be looked down upon. Not everything should be taken as a bad thing. You can learn from a lot of stuff. You want to use your vision to see how you would like to lead soldiers one day. And then secondly, of course, is direction. So direction, you always want to try and provide the best direction that you can. So whether it's actually your style of leadership that you might have meshed together over the years, being in the Army, seeing different leadership and noticing different leadership, or you want to try and utilize servant leadership and provide direction that way. Either way is going to be natural from you. So you're not going to necessarily use a style of leadership and the style try and force it too much. It's going to become, because eventually it's going to become something that becomes natural to you. So firstly, I would like to go over purpose. The purpose of servant leadership derives from one single thing, and that's to serve first. So you might have seen leadership before that has purely communicates to the squad through phone, or is there when it's necessary, not always there with their squad. And the purpose of servant leadership is the exact opposite. So you're going to want to serve first. You're going to want to be out there with your soldiers, whether it's PMCS on Mondays and you want to be out there with your squad, conducting PMCS the correct way, the reader-doer method, and ensuring that these things get done correctly. So that to me is what servant leadership is, and that's the purpose that it provides. Is to be there with them people, providing them direction, providing them with a vision of how their actual leadership style could be influenced. To go along with that, every style of leadership is different. Every style of leadership has its own direction, has its own purpose. But I believe that is the main purpose of servant leadership. Be there with your soldiers to serve first. You can relate this through one of the Army values that we actually study a lot, and that's selfless service. To not work solely or try and provide solely for yourself. To think things bigger and to try and emulate something that's more than you. Something that you should try and pass on. Secondly, I'm going to be going over the usage of servant leadership. So, to me, the usage of servant leadership, it can be done in a few different ways. It can, as I stated before, it can you can use it, and for example, like I said, PMCS on Mondays, being out there with your soldiers. A lot of times, we might see leadership disappear as time goes on. Not to say that they aren't doing something, that might be important, that might be crucial to the mission, but sometimes they do it. We do notice that. But you can also do things, for example, if you have to go to a range, your leadership being out there with you, giving you techniques, giving you tips on, weapons qualifications, PMIs and whatnot, being out there with you to try and better you, to aid you, and serve a purpose, give you a kind of a sense of feeling that, maybe these are the things that I should be portraying and doing with my soldiers one day whenever I am actually in charge of a squad. And then along with that, you might, as a leader, you're going to come across some obstacles, and those things that are passed down to you. There's things that you're going to have to, so you're going to get from first sergeant one day, you're going to have 20 different tasks. And part of servant leadership is to serve first, as I said. So, a good way to emulate that would be to actually, not push tasks off on, let's say, other squad leaders, or try and, some things might fit other squads better, to actually be able to conduct the mission and to ensure that preparation, but, don't always pass things off to somebody else, or, try and get out of the way of it because, you're trying to serve first here. You're trying to, provide a purpose, and to show that, that selfless service. And then finally, I want to talk about the benefits of servant leadership. So, as we know in the Army, camaraderie it's crucial. So, amongst your squad, you should have an openness amongst the squad. If you don't have, communication and everyone feeling that they are, one in another, that their voice is heard, their opinions are heard, you're going to lose that camaraderie. And then servant leadership, it helps build that. You're one with your soldiers. You're out there as much as you can be with them, trying to provide a purpose. Trying to provide them direction, as well as giving them motivation. So with you being around your soldiers as much as you possibly can, it's going to impact them greatly as far as that camaraderie. And then also, it makes you look better. So you're not going to look like an NCO that's, trying to pass things off or trying to, just do the bare minimum. You want to try and strive for your unit. You want to try and, ensure the preparedness that, is expected of your unit. So that's just some benefits, not only for your squad, not only for your unit, but for yourself. You're trying to, portray a great image, and it's kind of hard to do that whenever you're not out there on the front lines. You're not, trying to accomplish as many things as possible. So basically, servant leadership, I feel, is a great leadership style. I have had a couple of leaders in the past that were, they were wonderful leaders. They were always out there with us. They were always trying to better us. They were teaching us things that necessarily didn't even have to be taught. Counselings and how to conduct yourself amongst a squad. That's things that you kind of have to, either you're watching out for as a soldier, or it's kind of harder to figure out. You actually have to have somebody there to be able to guide you and to be able to show you right from wrong. But in my essay, or in my speech, I covered the purpose of servant leadership, how you're supposed to, or how it's supposed to be emulated, and how it's supposed to be taken amongst the unit. I also provided you with the usage, a couple ways that you can use servant leadership, some examples of that usage, and then as well as benefits of servant leadership to not only yourself, your soldiers, but also your unit. And so at this time, we'll be pending any questions. This concludes my speech.